everyone, today I'm going to show you how I did Leah's first birthday card. Here is Leah here. Yes, I know she's absolutely adorable. And here is her accompanying painting that I did for her first birthday. That is shown in another video. So first I started out in Cricut, and this Leah with the L with the wreath and flowers around it was a free image. And to get the IA in there, I just went into Illustrator and typed out a font that I like of IA, and I made an SVG out of it and imported it into Cricut into the and put it beside the L. For the other little Leahs, I just did the same thing, took a font I like, brought it into Illustrator and saved it as an SVG and imported it into Cricut. Okay, here I am pressing the Cricut button and it's starting to cut all my images out of what this is Strathmore watercolor paper. Oh no, it's Fabriano watercolor paper. It's about 7.5 by 9 inches, and I just stuck that to my Cricut mat. And next time I would do this, I think I had the setting on cardstock. But I think next time I do it, I would set it on a deeper setting because I had some trouble getting some of the words out, as you'll see later. It did cut it out fine, but I think I would choose a deeper setting. So just a note for you. Okay, now that the cut is done, it looks great, and I just took the whole thing mat and all over to my work area. And as you can see, my watercolors are out. They have the same watercolors that I've been using for the painting because the painting is pretty much done. Now I'm working on the card, and I'm using the dirty water because that helps me see where I put the water, even though it's not that dirty, so I can hardly see it, but I'm just putting the water where the flowers are. And I'm going to color this card. At this point, I don't know what it's going to look like. I'm just painting off the hip here. So I'm just experimenting with colors, and I'm just using the colors that I like. So from here, I'm just going to speed it up and let you watch me paint this. So what's really cool about this method of cutting it out on the Cricut, or die cutting it and leaving it on the watercolor paper and then watercoloring it right on there, is that the water sort of seeps down with the color around the edges and gives it kind of like a harder, darker edge around the edge. So it's really neat how it does that. These are Schminky watercolor paints that I'm using here, so they're very, very high quality and they're light fast. Because I'm putting so much into her painting and her card, I want her to be able to keep these forever. So it's important to me that they are light fast and have archival value. So what I'm doing here is I'm blobbing the paint on and not fussing with it too much, because I want that organic look of the paint spreading out into the fibers of the paper on its own. If you move your brush around too much on the color after you do that, you're going to lose all those nice organic marks that it makes on its own. So I'm just going in here with the darker green, a mix of cool greens and warm greens, and that's the same that I'm doing with the oranges and the pinks. I'm using a mixture of the cool pink with the warm oranges, so that it really does create balance together, so that the whole thing is not overly cool or overly warm. Now here I'm going into the little Leah, and I don't even know if I'm going to use those 3 on the left, but I'm doing it anyway just to see, experiment with this medium. And I ended up using 2 of the small Leahs, one for the outside of the envelope of the card and one on the inside of the card. So I'm really glad that I cut out all these options, because I didn't know whether I was going to use them all. I knew I was going to use the big wreath, but I didn't know whether I'd use the small ones, and I ended up using them. So I'm just going in with another layer here of the green, because I want it to look very organic, and I want a good mix of the cools and the warms. And I want that dark to spread out into the fibers of the paper to give the leaves. This is where the wet on wet technique paints for you. Because if you just leave it alone, if you just put it on there and then let it do its thing, it will create the organic veins of the leaves. Or at least it will trick the eye into looking like that. All right, now that it's dry, I have to take it off the Cricut mat. So it's not as hard as you would think. I just use my scraper tool and It was pretty easy taking it off the mat, as you can see. It was a little harder punching it out of the watercolor paper though, because like I said, I would have set the Cricut to chop it out of a thicker material. It would have been easier because I had to do a little snipping with scissors, but that's okay. I figured it out. If you try this method, just a note of caution. I constantly had to tell myself, do not screw this up, don't rip the wreath, otherwise you'll ruin the whole thing and all that work will go out the window. So you have to be very, very careful about punching that out. But it's not like you couldn't glue it and patch it up and do a fix or stick something over it if you screwed it up. But you know, it's always best to just be very careful and take your time rather than ruin all that work. So luckily I didn't. As you can see here, I'm just going over with a simple wet brush and just evening out some spots so it looks better outside of the cutout. And as I mentioned, I had to go around a couple of the spots that cut pretty shallow. It didn't seem to cut all the way through. So I'm just having to use my scissors here and cut those pieces out quickly. And here I'm just cutting out one of the small Leah pieces, and I think I decide to do the rest of those later. So I'm happy with the way those little small Leahs came out, as well as the big one. And if you're wondering what all that backdrop stuff is, that's just me practicing leaves and stuff for the other painting. Okay, so here I'm going on to the card portion, and I'm just scoring some regular white cardstock. And here's some matching cardstock I just happen to have from like a Simon Says stamp card kit or something. And I like the colors together. They're summery colors, the mint green and the fuchsia and the orange, and I just love them together. So I'm just measuring the size and cutting them into squares to sort of put under the wreath because they go really well. And I'm going to bring you through the whole process here, mistakes and all, because I did make mistakes and I did some things and changed my mind and this and that. So here I am just deciding on, I like it on the green better than the pink or the orange. And for the bottom pink tab, I was going to do green and then on top of orange and then a little bit of pink showing at the bottom. And for the bottom tab, I'm using this butterfly embossing and just running it through my Cuttlebug here. And this is actually the first or second time I'm using the Cuttlebug, so I'm all fascinated by it as I'm doing it. I'm thinking, woo, that's cool. So here it is on the bottom, and I'm just assembling it here to make sure it looks good. And then I decided to use the Cuttlebug folder that came with the Cuttlebug, and it's little tiny flowers, and it happens to go with this motif. So I'm applying that to the mint green stock that will go behind the wreath directly. And I'm happy with that too, because it's quite subtle and it's very structured and organized. It's not, big bold patterns like the wreath, which would definitely clash. So I'm happy with that. And then I'm just taking out the orange because I don't think I like it there. And then I go and I'm like, okay, maybe I could do a middle pattern there in between the green and the pink. And I'm looking through all the patterns, and they go, but they ended up being too busy for me, and I thought, oh, there's enough going on. Then I tried another little technique here with some picked raspberry distress ink, and I just went over the embossed butterflies just to see what would happen. And, whatever, it looked okay, but I didn't like it. So I turned it over. I'm like, no, I like the simple embossing better. You know what? It always ends up being simple is better. Here's another thing I tried. I tried putting some flower stickers on there that happened to go with the summer colors. Didn't like it. Too much, so I took them off. So here I am back with just the pink embossing, and I'm just going to stick with that. So before I stick on this wreath, I just went back in quickly with some watercolor and wet my brush and just decided to bring out the green stem just a little bit and just a couple details. As you can see, I really didn't do much here. I just drew some green around the middle of the stem. Okay, so now I'm going to delicately apply some Tombow adhesive to the back of this wreath to glue it onto the card. And I instead switched to this Zig glue pen, which seemed a little more easier and worked a lot better because, as you can see, it's quite delicate to pick up. And I just glued it on top of the mint green piece and touched up a few of the areas with the glue pen so that they didn't stick out and catch on things. Then I glue on the I and the A. So here I just, I had an extra piece of pink here that I embossed because I wanted to try something. So I'm trying the Wink of Stella, and I just wanted to glitter up just a couple of the butterflies. And I just wanted to test the picked raspberry ink to see how it looked, and I ended up not liking it at all. It just looked tacky. I don't know why. Sometimes sparkle looks tacky and sometimes it doesn't. And this time, just the plain embossing really did it. So I'm just stamping smile on here, and it's your birthday on either side of that smile. And I'm just going to keep it simply embossed. And then, so here obviously I'm just taping on the pink bottom part, and I'll tape on the top part as well. And nearing the end of the very important card that's due tomorrow, of course, you have to run out, it's Murphy's Law, you have to run out of Tombow adhesive. So I went in and I basically used the glue pen all over there. I could probably find some other Elmer's glue or something, but luckily I had that glue pen in a pinch. So I just glued that down, and I'm really happy with the way that it looks. Then I decided to go in with the Wink of Stella and just do a little bit of glitter in between the holes of the flowers, and then I extended it to all the little holes in the embossed flowers as well, because I thought it was subtle enough. They're so small that it wouldn't be overpowering or anything. So by Technique Tuesday, I couldn't resist this little black cat. This stamp is by the ton. It's the underwear drawer stamp, and I just love it. I think it's so cute. So I'm just placing these on the back to test where I'm going to put things. I end up putting the cat on the inside, but this is going on the back. It says, "This card was handmade with love, so don't throw it out. Keep it in your underwear drawer forever." And then I just put the little male pants on there. They're actually male pants, but I later wrote diaper on it. So here I am for Leah, because she's 1, right? So here I am stamping the black cat on the inside, and I just put "Love, Auntie," in quotes. Andrea, that's my name, or Andy for short, Andesign. And I'm just putting a little couple XOs here. Then I went and got this thing, these rub-ons from a Simon Says Stamp summer kit, and I just thought, oh, that would be perfect. The colors go perfectly, and I'll just put a little XO on there as well. So I was really glad to make use of those rub-ons, and I really like those. They're super easy to use. It's Your Happy Day, and I put that in there too. Of course, the colors go with it perfectly. And so here's the finished card. I hope you like it. Please check out Leah's painting of the yellow roses in another video. I'll link to it. And thanks very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed watching me make this card. Bye.